Welcome to LOTC Presents Black Glove Mysteries, where every other Friday we'll take you on a journey through Italian cinema, specifically Giallo, but we reserve the right to take other avenues such as Polizia, spaghetti westerns, Euro crime films. Either way, you will hear and now see us talk Italian cinema. This is episode 426, Double Double 61. I'm your host, Greg Mortis, along with Ian Irza. What's going on, Ian?
Hey, this is going to be really fun. I had a lot of fun preparing this ranking, but more importantly, it's going to be fun doing this on video from now on. So, yeah, this is
Absolutely.
the start of something good.
I hope so. If not, it's the start of something, right?
Right.
So, if you are watching this for the first time, we are on YouTube now. If you're listening to this on Apple or wherever you're listening to, you're not seeing it, obviously, but you can head to YouTube. If you go to landofthecreeps.blogspot.com, will be the easiest thing to do. Check on the actual post and go down into our notes down below. You'll see a link that says My YouTube. It'll be Greg and Mortis's YouTube. Click that, subscribe to the channel, and then every other Friday, as we release the episodes on podcast platforms, it'll also release on YouTube. So you'll get us every other Friday. So there you go. So we're super excited. So we're going to be talking Italian cinema. If you're new to this YouTube channel, we talk Italian cinema. And tonight we're doing just exactly what Ian has got in his hand. We're going to be reviewing 1975's Umberto Lenzi's Eyeball. And I love it. And on top of that, Ian, we're also going to count down or rank our top eight, well, there were only eight, Umberto Lenzi Giallo films. Now, not all his catalog, just his Giallo films. There's eight of them in total, and we'll rank ours from eight to one in round robin style as well. So that's what you got going on tonight. So we're super excited about this. So, Ian, without further ado, man, let's get into this thing. Let's just go ahead and break it down. We're going to talk about 1975's Eyeball first, and then we'll get into our rankings. So let's take it away. What's your plot synopsis?
All right. So, because this is a Umberto Lenzi centric episode, I'm taking this from Make Them Die Slowly, The Kinetic Cinema of Umberto Lenzi by Troy Howard. This is
Nice.
what the book looks like. You can see it
Love
pretty well
Troy
here.
Howard. I do. See,
All
love
right, good. So let's see here. There should be a synopsis here somewhere. Okay, there we go. A group of American tourists in Spain find themselves in the middle of a series of grisly murders. The victims are all young women, and they all end up with their right eye being gouged out. As the police investigate, Paulette, played by Martine Brochard, and her boss slash paramour, Mark, played by John Richardson, also set out to find the same clues. Mark is worried that his unstable wife, Alma, may also be involved, but so far as he knows, she is still at home in America. Dot, dot, dot.
there you go. That is your plot synopsis for this movie, Eyeball. And let me say right off the bat, first time viewing for me, and was blown away with this film. I really enjoyed the mystery of this movie. Lots of red herrings, Ian, for sure.
I'd say he almost goes overboard on the red herrings a little bit. There's there's one character of a particular demographic
Yep.
who might be who you suspect to be the killer if you follow Giallo movies at all. And that one character is like he's like he'll turn up in places where he just shouldn't be. That happens like three times in the movie, and it's like what like they're making it so obvious that this person is who you think should be the killer, but
Hmm.
that's not really the case. So it was and pretty much everybody in this group of people from vacationing from Vermont could be. And this whole movie is really sort of bonkers with like its plotting. Like the whole thing with Mark is like, oh, so he thinks he's being framed because his wife is in town, right? And he's like trying to put the blame on his wife, and he's basically saying like, well, she's trying to frame me, and it's like all the way around. It's insane. Or the killer actually, well, I should say the killer is trying to frame him via her, and it's like it's all of that going on at once, where it's like all of this plotting is just totally ridiculous. And the cops Kind of per usual in Giallo, don't seem to do anything. Like he
Mm-mm.
even says at one point, "Oh, the case is close to being solved." I'm like, "No, it's not. You have you suspect all of them, and
Yeah, yeah,
you have no progress being made on trying to find out who anybody is. Mark is the only one who's trying, and it's unfortunate because I like John Richardson. I mean, I like him in
yeah.
Black Sunday, but in this, I think he's kind of just asleep for most of the film. Truth be told, I don't think he's doing anything interesting at all in his performance. I think Martine Brochard is doing the best out of everybody.
Yeah, I agree. And she's playing Paulette, which is kind of the secretary slash. We find out that she is actually having an affair with Mark as well. So, yeah, I did like her character for sure, and she definitely has the most interesting aspect in this movie. Other actors, you got the Inspector Tudela, played by Andreas Majuto, and Andreas Majuto, man, this guy, he's fixing to retire. He's already, it's like, man, I only got like a couple more days and then this case comes in, as it always does in cinema, right? Every time, somebody's fixing to retire, they get that big case and then they got to go on it. And man, I'm gonna tell you, the suntan this dude had rolling with that hair
Yeah,
was insane.
yeah,
He
and
was true, but
it's
anyway,
very fitting in the English dub that you got Ed Mannix doing
yeah.
the dubbing for him, like he usually does for those authority figures. I like the dynamic between him and the younger cop as well.
Mhm.
In this movie, speaking of, you got both Fulvio Mengozi and Tom Feleggi playing roles in this, which is great because they're like the guys who show up. Like Fulvio Mengozi shows up in every Argento film, like in the background, and in
Yeah.
this he plays just a cop who's in the background. Like you see him guarding the hospital room at one point for Naiba, played by Ines Pellegrini, and then you get Tom Feleggi playing the coroner, and that was great. And you do get to know everybody in this group. I would say that the Alvarados, like Robbie, is kind of
Yeah.
interesting. Robbie and Gail had this like sort of broken marriage, and they're on vacation maybe to fix that. Although Gail clearly has no interest, she's making fun of him at every turn. Um, like even the part when he like says, "Oh, I was wounded in battle here. That's why I'm here. I want to go see where it happened."
Right.
And then she like just laughs at him. And then you have the friggin' tour guide Martinez, who was just like he's like kind of perving on like young girls. Like
Yeah.
they, I don't think that the two daughters, the one for the family that ends up going home, and then what's her name, Peggy, like well
Hey.
Peggy I think is the one who
Yeah.
gets killed. Jenny is the daughter of Hamilton, right? Is that
Mhm.
his name?
Yeah.
And yeah, and he's creeping on both of them by scaring them with like these toys. Like one of them's like a mouse, one of them's like a spider, and like it's again an obvious red herring in his
Yeah.
case. And yeah, and at one point though he defends Paulette, which is kind of interesting when that whole raincoat thing happens because the killer wears the red poncho in this with the red gloves, and maybe Don't Look Now because it came out a few months before this was an influence on that. I'm not
Could have been.
sure.
Could have been.
Yeah, it could have been because the person with the red rain slicker in that film. And then the beginning of the movie, like the person who gets killed at the beginning, the first girl, I don't even think that she's part of their party. I think she's just someone else.
Yeah.
And then you have the guy. It took me my second viewing to recognize this. The guy at the beginning that she's like making out with or whatever goes up to Mark at one point randomly in the street and just starts like it just starts like grappling with him, and she's like,
Right.
"You killed her," and then that never picks up again. That just
Never.
goes completely away.
There is those odd moments in this movie, man, where it just does make you kind of scratch your head. Like, okay, I know we got to put some characters in here and we got to give them some story, but some of those moments did kind of make me scratch my head a little bit. Like, wait, what are we doing here? Like, why do we not go ahead and continue with this thing somewhere down the line, but we don't get it? I did like the red raincoat and I like the red glove. We typically have the black glove and the masked killer and everything. I did like the red glove in this one. Oh, we do got some really good kills in this movie. I do like the eye gouge scenes. We get a lot of the right eyes tore out, which is kind of cool. I thought the effects were pretty decent in this movie, honestly.
Yeah, and I think Lisa's kill in particular
Mhm.
is pretty interesting. Like that's the goriest one where you see the neck slit and the spraying blood, and I think that may have been Lenzi taking influence from other films around the same time because that's not something he really did in his Giallo films very often was brutal kills.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest thing you could say is Seven Bloodstained Orchids, which was his second to last Giallo before this. and I think even the kills in this are more brutal than even in that one.
Agree.
Yeah, so I think he was definitely taking influence from other filmmakers on that. And I think what he did, I like the fact that he does set pieces with the kills in this one. Like you have that, what you may call it, that haunted tunnel amusement park
Yes.
ride thing, which I thought was great. The scene where the girl gets killed while feeding the pigs and it cross cuts between those two things, the pigs and then her. I actually thought that was really interesting. And that was a preview of what would happen with the slasher film, I think, because slasher films normally had those set pieces around the kills. Um, and even like the psychological reason, I'm not going to say exactly why, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's more of a psychological reason for the killer in this one. And that was something you saw more in Giallo films than you did, or in slasher films, I should say,
Yeah.
than in Giallo films. So it's definitely a preview of what was to come with that genre. And it makes sense because this is 1975. The Giallo, the traditional Giallo genre is kind of going out of style at this point. So
True.
it kind of makes sense to be moving towards something different. And then, once you get to the 80s, movies like New York Ripper and Tenebrae are just as influenced by the slasher film as they are the Giallo movies that came before them.
Agree. Yeah, I totally agree. You can definitely see the shift in this one. Umberto Lenzi did the screenplay and story for this one, along with Felix Tassel, and also I, here's the thing: like we saw that Umberto's story, he's really good about story, and I enjoyed this one. Man, I thought when you see something that he's written and directed, man, it just really works for me. It always pops on cylinders, and that the cinematography by Antonio Milan. I thought cinematography was great. I love the set pieces you mentioned. The opening in this movie. We're getting almost like a guided tour through the city, which I thought was awesome. Really enjoyed that. I always like to see backdrops like that.
Yeah, you get a lot of good Barcelona locations in this. And by the way, please feel free to take a drink every time either Barcelona or Burlington is mentioned.
or remember.
Yeah,
The word remember is mentioned a lot in this.
Barcelona and Burlington are mentioned so many times. It's interesting that they chose Vermont. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I mean Burlington, I think is the most populous city, but it's like Vermont's not really a state people talk about very often
No.
in U.S. films or foreign films for that matter. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. But yeah, the Barcelona showcase was really cool.
Yeah.
I don't think we had ever seen a Giallo movie take place in Barcelona before, as far as I know. So that was kind of cool.
None that I'm aware of, anyways. The musical score by Bruno Nicolai I thought was great.
I did
Although,
too.
although that continuous beat that he had going on that the main theme song got a little bit monotonous. It was like, okay, I've heard this thing 20 times. Now I'm gonna hear it 21. You know what I mean? They replayed it a lot through the movie. I was hoping they would change beats a little bit, but it worked. It's interesting. It's fun. The score in the whole is really darn good.
Yeah, it kind of reminded. Yeah, whenever anything plays a lot in a movie, it always reminds me of Creature from the Black Lagoon. As much as I love that film, there's that one stinger in that film that plays so many times.
Yes.
It does get a little annoying eventually in that film. It's always what I'm reminded of when music gets too repetitive in movies.
Yeah, agree. But no, everything rolls good in this one. I think it's paced well. I think the amount of red herrings is a lot in this movie, but I definitely we won't spoil this. There will be minor spoilers when we do these shows, by the way. But we try not to full blown spoil anything. But the one that you were mentioning at the beginning of the episode is the one that I absolutely kept telling my wife through the whole movie. This is the killer. It was so obvious, and the profession that this person's in is usually the killer. So I'm like through the whole movie, like, yes, 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 yes. So they got me. They got me on that one. That was pretty cool. But the acting's cool, man. I like this one. You got your typical Giallo moments in it. You got, of course, the gloved killer. You got the blade. You got nudity. You got the cigarette smoke, the J&B bottle. You got everything that you're looking for in a Giallo. You've got it in this one for sure. But I like the premise. Like you got this whole mystery going on because there's a murder right in the beginning of the movie. Within the first, 3 minutes of the movie, we got a murder, and then it's like another murder. So they quickly start escalating, and then you're trying to follow it along. So I thought the pace of it was really good. I thought the acting as a whole was decent to good, and I just really enjoyed this one, bro.
Yeah, I did too. And I enjoyed another couple I enjoyed was Lisa and Naiba.
Yes.
Lisa at one point just kind of starts abusing her, and then she's like, "Oh, I just want to see you in the bedroom. That's the place for us to make up." It's like, what is going on here? Yeah, and then I guess it's somewhat deserving, at least, that her kill is ends up being one of the more brutal ones.
Mm-hmm.
Naiba Inez Pellegrini is like a sight to behold. Like she's very uniquely beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
One of the few sort of black actresses you see within Giallo films. The other one being Carla Bray and whoever that woman was who played the maid in Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like them, and I like the fact that in this film the American tourists are like the it does not disturb their vacation, all the stuff
Right.
that's going on. They still want to go to like Sitges, and then at one point I think it's Martinez and Hamilton and one of the other guys, Alvarado, are like we're gonna go dancing tonight, despite all that's gonna happen. And Jenny's like, "Oh, I'll come with you." And it may give away something when you notice who's absent, by the way, from
Yeah.
that group. But yeah, and then Dominique Bochero. Okay, so this is sort of going back to Hello, This Is the Doom Show. Rich, shout out to Richard and Brad for
Yes.
doing an episode on this movie. They did an episode on this movie years ago, and Richard had talked about how he had a crush on Dominique Bochero, and he was watching this movie, I think, with his wife and like one of her friends or
Mhm.
one of his friends. And there's a scene where Dominique Bochero gets out of the shower and she's topless, but she's also incredibly skinny.
Yeah.
And like his wife and her friend were like, "Really, you have a crush on her? Like she's in desperate need of a sandwich." This was after she had been pregnant apparently, and she had lost like a ton of weight right after that. So she was going through a tough time in her life, but she's talked about how she had fond memories of this film and working with Lenzi. She said, the guy yells, but you know what? When a director's not getting what he wants, he should be able to yell.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of enjoyed some of her responses to that. She seemed like a person who had a good head on her shoulders, was hard to mess around with. So, and Lenzi talked about how he liked her. He said she was the only one that he liked in this film at all.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, in terms of performances.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the movie itself is 92 minutes long, so hour and 32 minutes. It's a very quick paced movie. We also know this as the Red Cats in a Glass Maze. And then what was at the beginning of the movie? Do you remember what was the title at the very beginning of the movie?
No,
I don't either. There was a
I
name.
can look, but
Yeah, there was a name that
yeah.
popped up at the beginning of the movie, and I swear to God, I was like, what am I watching? I even went back to check, am I watching the right movie? Because if you watch this on YouTube, is where I ended up checking out. You got the 88 films Blu-ray, which I got to pick up. Um, it's of course Eyeball. That's what we know it by.
Secret Killer.
Yes,
Yeah.
Secret Killer. And here's the thing, like it pops up on the screen, and you're like,
Shout out to Letterbox for having all those alternate
John
titles when you go to
Letterbox.
details. Yeah.
Yeah. I was shocked, dude. I was like, wait a minute. And I literally undone it and I come back. I'm like, let me check. Let me look at the cast. I had to keep going back through cast members and all. I said, okay, everything's matching up. Eyeball gouge at the beginning. Okay, this is the movie. So, because I knew it as Red Cats in a Glass Maze and I knew it by Eyeball. I did not know it by Secret Killer or whatever it was. So, interesting. It's also known as, what's it called? Labyrinto o Vetro. There you go. I got to practice my Italian, by the way. I got my book right here, Ian. This is my little book. This is my Italian phrase book and dictionary.
Nice.
I'm following a lot of stuff on TikTok, and let me tell you, I'm not there yet, but I'm trying. Scusa, scusa, scusa. You got to do scusa. So this said, Ian, let me get to the meat of this one. Let's get to the actual, because you like to do the dubbing corner. Let's go ahead and, if you're new to the channel, Ian likes to go into the dubbing corner. So we'll go through and what do you got on the dubbing corner?
Okay, so Ted Rusoff is dubbing Martinez, the tour guide. So that would be Wrath or Wraith, maybe. Baldessari,
Hmm.
I think, yeah, something like that. Robert Spafford is dubbing Robbie Alvarado. So that would be Daniele Vargas. Uh, Carolyn DeFonzica is dubbing Gail Alvarado. So that'd be Sylvia Solar. Edmund Purdom, the guy who played the Dean in Pieces, familiar face. He is dubbing
Mhm.
Tom Pileggi as the coroner, putting on an accent of sorts to do that. Larry Dolgan is dubbing the younger inspector, so that would be Inspector Lara, played by Jose Maria Blanco. Younger inspector was just what I had him as in my notes. Ed Mannix is dubbing the actor who plays Inspector Tudela, so that would be Andreas Mihudo.
Yep.
Robert Summer. I do not have an actor for this. He's dubbing the guy at the front desk at the hotel at one point. So there's a front desk guy at the hotel that I think you see multiple times because the
Yeah.
police end up interviewing him at one point, saying, "Is this the woman you saw in the picture?" That would be Robert Sommer putting on an accent. And that I believe is it for the dubbing. Yep,
Okay,
dubbing
cool.
that I know of.
Yeah. So here it is. Like the pacing's well, the kills are good. We got the dubbing corner. I feel like the overall feel of this film is fun. Now you said you've seen this one more time before this. This is your second viewing.
Yeah, and I ended up watching it again with the commentary on. I didn't learn too much from the commentary. The Hysteria Continues is a podcast that will sometimes record commentary, so they were just kind of talking about what they liked about the film and their takes on it and stuff. So that was pretty fun because they're a good podcast,
Mhm.
and the four of them have a good rapport. So it was fun to watch. I didn't really learn anything from it, but it was still fun to watch with the commentary on. And even that was, like I said, that was the part where I recognized, oh, that's the guy from the beginning when he hassles Mark in the street. I didn't even recognize it because that beginning part is just such a quick thing that you almost forget who that guy is.
Yeah.
And then one thing I noticed was it's not necessarily predictable. It's not necessarily predictable for the motive, but it is interesting that sort of one demographic of people start are the only ones really who get killed in this.
All right.
Yeah, like no, I don't really think any men get killed in this. If I'm yeah, well,
There is
one,
one.
one, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's only one, not necessarily related to the motive, more because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So
Yeah.
that was kind of an interesting thing.
Agree, agree. And here's like I thought that all the kills themselves, because there are a couple, I won't call them necessarily off screen, but they are kind of off screen. But there are a few that are on screen too. So once again, the makeup effects in this and the effect artist itself, man, they done really good. Because in Giallos, we typically, until you got into the Argento side, and then we started seeing the influx of just like brutality in the kills. In this one, you didn't really, or you don't see a ton of these movies that have a lot of these kills, and this one definitely had it. I thought they done good with the eye gouges, dude. I really enjoyed the way they made the eye gouges look.
Yeah, and Boshero was talking about how a what you may call it, like an optician had to
Yeah.
come in and like actually like shut her eye for certain scenes.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Wow. Because I was
yeah,
wondering how they did that. Because when you look at the way the eyeball looks, typically you would have a prosthetic across it, and I'm sure that's what they had on here as well. But you could see kind of a darkness around it, but typically it looks really fake. These didn't look that bad. These actually look pretty good. And at 1975, I mean, that's impressive in my opinion. So we had what, seven? I think it was like seven kills in this movie altogether, I
yeah,
believe.
well paced throughout, I'd say as well. It was a higher body count because I mean, one thing we're going to talk about when we rank his films is Lenzi didn't really make slasher giallo movies very often. The only other one he did that really was Seven Bloodstained Orchids. Well, Knife of Ice, I guess too, but a lot of his films were more closer to noir films combined with erotic thrillers in a way. They weren't
Mhm.
really what you think of when you think of a giallo. So
Exactly.
that was interesting.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, we got a total of seven kills. There's eight total, but one of them is not by the killer, so it's a total of seven kills in this movie, and all of them are pretty darn good. So, what else you got on Eyeball? I like the original poster art of this one. We got a picture, side picture of a face, which this was mentioned in some of the trivia, and I really honestly feel like it is, but it shouldn't be. But it looks like Susanna George. Does it not look like Susan George? Like it really. It's like a half
A
face and then an eyeball. It's really odd.
little bit, yeah, I
Yeah,
could see
like
that.
yeah, just to me it looks like it. But then it's plain. It's like dark, and then it's got the big Italian captions on it, which I really enjoyed. So poster art, I'd give it like a 5.5 if I was rating the poster. I kind of dig the eyeball with the little goose hanging out. What else you got on this one, brother, before we get to our rating on it?
Nothing much. The 88 films Blu-ray, which I'm not sure if that's still around. It does include a documentary on Lenzi, which is kind of cool. It is oh my goodness, where is it? I think it's like I cannot find what it's called, but there's a there it is, the life and times of all eyes on Lenzi. That's what it's called.
Okay.
So and it's on there. It's like an 80-minute documentary about him. So I actually did not get a chance to watch it yet, but I definitely will. I mean, I own like 21 of his films, and there's going to be more. Like Desert Commandos is on, which is like a sort of macaroni combat film he did. That is on the Kino Lorber store. So in their next sale, I'll probably wind up getting that. I think the Blu-ray for Iron Master, the sword and like the sword and sorcery film he did is still around, and
Uh-huh.
I'm sure someone will end up releasing more of his films at some point. He was doing peplums. I mean, he had been around for a long time, similar to Lucio Fulci, where they were both around in the business for
Right.
quite a long time. If you compare that to Dario Argento, who was relatively green to the business when Giallos were starting. So
Mhm.
I mean, it was Lenzi had a ton of experience, and I wouldn't call him a journeyman because I think his films do have a distinct style of sorts, but he definitely directed a lot of films, was very prolific, similar to Fulci. I think they both directed over 50 films.
Yeah, yeah, a lot. You can still purchase this if you go on eBay. You can find it, but they also have a limited edition. 88 Films put out a 4K of this, Ian. So there is a 4K of Eyeball out in stock. It is if you go to Diabolic DVD, it's like 46.99 in stock. I don't know the special. It's a ton of special features. I don't know how many of them are continuance from what you have, but they do have audio commentary with Troy Howard, Nathaniel Thompson, and Eugenie Ercolani.
Okay, so that's new.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they have another one by critics Kim Newman and David Flint. And then they got the Hysteria Continues
Oh
podcast.
wow, so they have two new ones on
They have,
there.
yeah, two new ones.
Oh man, wow, that might be worth the upgrade possibly
Yeah.
at some
There's
point.
also an Eye for Murder interview with Martine Bouchard, which you had, I believe. Genre Mastro, an interview with Umberto Lenzi. They got the Wandering Eyeball, a visual essay by Mike Foster, and Location Featurette. So that's your releases there. So you can get this on 4K, but it is a pricey release. So maybe 88 Films will drop this in a sale somewhere. Who knows? But it
Did
is.
I mix up earlier and call her Dominique Bochero by accident? I meant Martine Bouchard. If I did that, I apologize. I might have done that. It's those last names.
It all
Yeah.
happens. It all happens.
Doesn't happen to me very often, but every
Right.
once in a while
It
it might.
happens to me every day and about 20 times a day. I'm old, man. It happens. So that said, well, let's go ahead and get in our ratings on this one. We do for you that are watching on YouTube, we rank ours from 10 to 1, 10 being worst or being best, 1 being worse. So where would you come in on a rating for Eyeball, Ian?
7.5.
Okay, 7.5 for you. I'm coming in with a whopping 8.5. I love this movie, man. I really
Nice.
enjoyed it, and I love the red herrings in it. I just really, really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. And you come in at a 7.5. Bam, there you go. All right, so that is part one of this episode. Part two now is we're going to rank our eight Umberto Lenzi films. Now, we have reviewed all of these on the podcast. So if you go through landthecreeps.blogspot.com, easiest thing to do is go on the right toolbar where it says search. You can type in one of the names of the movies if you want to look, and it'll bring up exactly where we reviewed it and which episode and all that. But we have reviewed all eight officially now that we're going to rank in this episode. So what we're going to do is we'll start from our number eight and work our way to our number one, Umberto Lenzi. We probably won't go into much detail. I don't know how Ian's going to handle it, but we'll name them off. And once again, we have reviewed these, so you can go back into the show notes and find out where all these episodes were and listen to our full reviews on them. But without further ado, we'll do this round robin. We'll go to Ian, to myself, and we'll keep ranking them back. So let's head over to you, Ian. What is your number eight Umberto Lenzi's Giallo film?
Okay, so at number 8, I have An Ideal Place to Kill. This
Okay.
is the Mondo Macabro Blu-ray, which is also called Oasis of Fear. That might be the more
Mhm.
common title for it. And the reason I have this at number 8, I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail.
Mhm.
I think it's kind of a clone of Orgasmo, aka Paranoia. There are some differences. What he does with Ray Lovelock and Ornella Moody is they are much more a symbol of sort of hippie culture at the time. Like they don't have a lot of money and they're just trying to get by. They're a
Mm.
little more sympathetic than the couple in Orgasmo is. Because those two are kind of closer to being villains, where in this one he kind of flips the tables with that a little bit. But it's still kind of a clone of that movie with the fact that it is about three people and sort of the trysts and disturbances between them.
Yeah.
So it's a similar film um, to Orgasmo, and that would be why I penalize it a bit. Plus, Ornella Moody was like either 15 or 16 at the time of filming this, so she couldn't do certain scenes.
Yeah.
Uh, what's her name? Irene Papas was like objected to all the nude scenes in the film, and she was not Lenzi's first casting. I think she does fine in the film, but the sexuality of the film couldn't be what it wanted to be because of that. So it's it's that's one of the reasons I would take points off as well. Plus, what was I going to say? The ending twist isn't quite as good as some of the ones he would do later on.
Right.
So it's not quite as interesting. So that would be the reason why. But I'm still giving it a 6 out of 10. I still like the movie,
Yeah.
just not as much as some of the others. I would say it's the least of his Giallo films.
Mhm. Cool. All right, Oasis of Fear for Ian for number 8. My number 8 is in the Lenzi. We both have this, the Lindsay Baker set here from Severn, which is an amazing set here. That's your movies in here. Orgasmo, So Sweet, So Perverse, A Quiet Place to Kill, and Knife of Ice. If you don't own that set, man, I highly recommend it. But my number 8 is in this set, and it is going to be 1972's Knife of Ice. Not the biggest fan of this movie. It's really good. Now, when I say really good, I think I gave this on the podcast a 7.5. Really has its moments, but for me, I don't know what it was about it. It just never really fully clicked out of the 8 movies when I started putting them down on the list. I'm like, okay, which ones do I remember? Which ones do I really think were there? And I think this one was the weakest of the Lindsay and Baker set by far for me. So for me, it is number 8, and it is called Knife of Ice. So Ian, what you got for number 7?
Okay, going to number 7. This is from the Lindsay Baker set, and I unboxed it so you can see all
Nice.
the different ones. This is
Yeah.
So Sweet, So Perverse. So the reason I have this here is I think this one uh, a twist happens in the middle, and then I think it becomes predictable what happens in the second half. I think if you're paying attention, it's almost like a letdown that it didn't go somewhere else.
Hmm.
I think the first half is very strong. I think Carol Baker and Horst Frank are really good in this. So is Erica Blanc, actually. And John Louis Trenton Yant is really good in
Yeah.
his limited amount of time here. But the second half, I don't think is quite as strong as the first half. Now, there is a stinger at the end that I do enjoy. At the very end, there is a stinger I do enjoy that did actually that I think may have even upped my rating at the time we did it.
Mhm.
And this one is a 7 out of 10 for me.
Okay, cool. Well, it's funny you put So Sweet, So Perverse because that is my number 7 as well.
Nice.
It's for what you're saying. It was those purpose reasons that I was in that same boat with you at 7, just because it missed on a few avenues that I really thought that they could have capitalized on it, but they didn't, and it was kind of a little misdraw for me. I did like the stinger. I totally agree with you. I thought that was a banger at the end of it. But for me, it's So Sweet, So Perverse as well. And I was a 7.5 on this one on the podcast. So, what you got for number? We're already down to number 6, Ian.
All right. Well, I have Knife of Ice at number 6. So, Knife of Ice, I liked it. It's kind of Lenzi's first Giallo movie to be closer to a slasher film. And but one of the problems with it, I think it does a good job with its ambiance. I like Carol Baker's performance as a mute woman in it. I
Hmm.
do think it's a little predictable where it goes. But I think there are some satanic panic elements and some possible supernatural elements that I think the film could have taken much more advantage of. And I think it lacks in the fact that it could have taken advantage of those to make it a little bit less predictable.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I
I give
totally
that
agree.
a 7 out of 10.
Okay, so 7 out of 10 for that one. Boom, got it. All right, so for me, my number 6 is going to be Orgasmo, aka Paranoia. He did that twice. Paranoia is a second term for 2 of his movies.
Yeah.
But this one is Orgasmo. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a really fun film to watch, but at the same time, there's just five other movies that had to hit above me, man. I just, I had a little bit more fun with. But this one, man, there's this one scene at the end of the movie, the cliff scene. I'll just leave it there that something happens with a car going off and thought was cool. We got the murder out on the boat, man. There's some really cool scenes in this movie for sure, but just didn't quite make my top five for sure. But for me, I had to put Orgasmo as number six.
Well, and my number five is Orgasmo. So there you go. Uh, I like this movie.
Yes.
I think it's out of the movies that he did where it was kind of just three people with a struggle against each other.
Yeah.
I think this one is probably the strongest one of those. One we're about to talk about is kind of similar, but there's, I think, maybe a couple more people involved.
Hmm.
This one is like a secluded location with just a few people. And Lou Castell and whoever plays his sister in this, I can't remember the actress's name right at the moment, unfortunately. They have an interesting relationship, we'll say that much. But they, compared to the people in Oasis of Fear, they still represent the counterculture and the generational gap, but they're not quite as poor. They're a little bit more well off, and they have much more devious plans. There's much more to do with drugs and hallucination in this that kind of makes it, you're not entirely sure exactly what's going on almost the entire time. There's
Mm.
a really good twist at the end. I thought the twist at the end in this one was awesome. And I think it because Carol Baker was willing to do more of those kind of nude scenes, the sexuality of the film comes through in full force, especially compared to Oasis of Fear. So I thought that all of that was really good and really interesting. And Lou Castell is an actor I like, so seeing him play the main character and seeing a more violent side of him, devious side of him, was really cool.
Cool. I like it. All right. So number five for Ian with Orgasmo. My number five, I went with 1974 Spasmo. Spasmo, we just recently reviewed Ian just a few episodes ago. And dude, what a title for a name, first of all, was Spasmo. What a cool poster art. What a nod to some maniac with the mannequins and the different things going on. But I really enjoyed this one, man. We had Robert Hoffman, Susie Kendall, and Ivan Razumov. Good cast, good story, but it made my number five for sure. What is your number four?
Eyeball. There we go. The movie we just covered.
Yeah, baby. So eyeball number four, and
Yeah, with 7.5 out of 10. And I don't think I said it. Orgasmo was a 7 out of 10. So there were three in a row that were sevens.
and I don't guess we really got to talk about eyeball because we just did.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, let's go into the next one here. So my number four for me is 1972's The Seven Bloodstained Orchids. We had recently done this one as well. What a really fun movie to watch. The seven murders that take place, the way they intertwine, the killer reveal was awesome. I just really, really enjoyed this movie, and I recommend this one for sure. And this one's got Antonio Sabato in it, Ushi Glass, the very beautiful Ushi Glass, and Pierre Paolo Capone. So yeah, there you go. For me, seven bloodstained orchids. What you got for number three, Ian?
All right. So this is the other movie that goes by Paranoia, but it also goes by A Quiet Place to Kill. I think this is the strongest of the Lenzi Baker Giallos. And one of the reasons why is a twist happens in the middle of the movie when you think it's going to be another one of those movies just between a few people, but it ends up not being that necessarily. And then there's a twist in there's a twist that ends up being something where I think the way it gets pursued is really interesting. Like there's that scene, if I remember correctly, where it's a really suspenseful scene where they find out, oh, maybe we know what happened because it's on the slideshow of all these pictures that were taken. And of course, they can't get to the part in the slideshow for whatever reason. I can't remember why, but it's a really suspenseful scene. Then another character shows up, a younger character who
Mm,
ends up sort of being another flaw to the plan, so to speak, or so you think. And it makes it interesting. And this one I think is interesting as well because it shows an older sort of middle-aged woman's sexuality with Carol Baker
yeah.
and how she's attracted to John Sorrell, who's not that much younger than her, but if we're being real, there's a difference between men in their 30s and women in like their late 30s. So, in regards to that kind of stuff and what is normally shown in films and what is, what is normally culturally, I won't say acceptable, but appropriated. So it's kind of interesting that Lenzi and Baker were both willing to show that, and that comes in at an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Eight for you. And funny you said that because my number three is A Quiet Place to Kill as well. Once again, this is in the Umberto Lenzi box set. So let's see, we've already done Orgasmo. Have we pretty much named? I think we pretty much named, or at least I have named every one of them out of this set.
Yeah, we did.
Yep.
Yep.
So A Quiet Place to Kill is definitely, I agree with you, Ian, the best of the four in this box set, man. It's so well done, man. I enjoy this film. Like I could watch this anytime, like pop it in and just really have a
I
lot of
agree. I think this one is my favorite of those, and I could easily pop it in right now and watch it and have a
yeah, the
fun time with it.
score, just everything about this movie is love it. All right, so now we're down to our top two, Ian. So once we get out our number two, we'll obviously know our number ones. What's your number two?
Spasmo. I just love how psychological it is. I
Mhm.
love sort of the atmosphere where it takes place all around these islands. I enjoy Susie Kendall's performance in it. I enjoy seeing Ivan Rasimov in a Lenzi movie. Of course, he went on to be in some of his crime films as well.
Mhm.
I mean, just the psychological thriller aspect of this is what I really enjoyed with it, where you don't exactly know where it's going the entire time. And I think that it's really awesome. This is again one that I could just pop in anytime and watch. I'm giving that one an 8 out of 10.
Totally agree with you, man. It's such a fun one. So Spasmo, and you gave it 8 out of 10.
Yep.
All right. All right. So my number two is one that you had way up on your list, but it's my number two, and it's Oasis Affair from 1971.
Really.
I love this movie, man. I really enjoyed everything about the aspect. I know, like you were saying, with the three, the twist of it and everything kind of letting you down, but I like the ending of this movie. Really enjoyed that cliff scene and all these different things that's going on in this movie. I just really enjoyed it, man. I had a lot of fun. Beauty in the movie's good. So just a really fun movie for me to watch. And when I started looking down my list, I was like, where do I put Oasis? Where does it fit in? And it just kept going further down. So for me, Oasis of Fear is my number two Umberto Lenzi film. So we're down to our number ones. The reasons we're here, and it's number one. Ian, what you got, my friend?
Seven
Bam.
bloodstained orchids. I just really enjoy it. It's the closest thing to like a slasher film that he really gets to. You've got the dynamic with Antonio Sabato and Ushi Glass basically investigating the case. You've got the object of interest, which is like that moon pendant. And you've got like how the hotel reservation sort of connects all these women together.
Hmm.
But you've also got the cops played by Paolo Capone and how they're trying to protect the victims. Marissa Mel comes in at one point playing twins, and there's that really brutal kill with the saw blade, which I thought was awesome.
Yep.
I pretty much like everything about it. There's a ton of nudity, a ton of good kills. It never feels boring. So that one is my favorite at a 9 out of 10.
Nice. It is a really good film, listeners, if you haven't seen it. So obviously, if you've been keeping up, my number one film is the first time watching it, just reviewed, is Eyeball. I really enjoyed Eyeball. I thought the kills were great. Loved the twist of the killer because it totally took me by surprise when it shouldn't have, but it did. I just really enjoyed it. I thought the musical score was great and everything about that movie was fun. I'm not going to talk about it anymore because just go to the beginning of this episode. Let's talk about it. So for me, it's Eyeball, and I come in at 8.5 on that one. So that is our rankings of the top eight, or the only eight Giallo films from Umberto Lenzi. What an amazing director, Ian. What an amazing, prolific amount of movies this guy's got, not just in Giallo, but in Italian cinema in general.
Yeah, and we're not done with Umberto Lenzi by any means. This is where we finished his Giallo movies, but we're not done with Umberto Lenzi. We'll end up covering probably some of his crime films at some
Yeah.
point, namely the ones with Tomas Milian, probably. And some of his cannibal films, maybe Hitcher in the Dark would be an interesting one to do. His
Mhm.
late '80s film. So there's a ton of stuff we can still do from Umberto Lenzi. It's just we've now covered all eight of his Giallo films, and I thought it was a good idea to do a ranking for them.
Absolutely. So, what we're going to do now, listeners, is we do have a voicemail, and we do this whenever we have some come in. I've never done this on YouTube, so I don't know how this is going to turn out. We'll see. This may be an epic fail, but for whatever reason. I had to do this with a speaker, so if it looks dumb to you, I'm sorry. It looks fine to me. But we're going to have this voicemail. Now, we do not control voicemail, so if there are spoilers in this, there's nothing we can do about that. We just play them the way they come in. So let me get to our
Knowing who it is, there probably will be some.
there may be some spoilers in this voicemail, listeners. I will go ahead and let you know ahead of time, and if it is, that's okay. So if you have not watched the movie Eyeball, or if you've not seen any of these movies and spoilers or something you don't like to hear, you may want to turn your head a little bit and, and then go from there. So I think I finally got this thing ready to rock and roll. Here we go. All right, so let's go to our voicemail, Ian. If I can get it played. There we go.
Hey guys, Luke Irza calling in with a review of Secret Killer, otherwise known maybe as Eyeball. So my first observation, the priest wasn't the bad guy, because sometimes I find that the priests are the bad guys in movies or these type of movies, but the priest was not this time. For a murder mystery with some gore, there are several main characters who you feel initially could be the murderer. There's a kind of a pool of suspects. After some story and character development, only one person had motivation to be the killer. The lead male character, Mark, had his secretary slash mistress Paulette along for the trip. Of course, we don't know until the end that Paulette only has one eye, nor could we really know throughout the story. There was no way of revealing that. But as a mistress, she could be motivated to frame Mark's wife, Alma. Plus, of course, they were from Vermont, and there was a similar killing in Vermont. So, after some reflection, I mean, it seems like she would have been a main suspect. I've got another call coming, meaning I'm going to call you guys with some more observations, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right. So he called in one more time. So like I said, there are spoilers in that one. So if you haven't, sorry. Let's go back to his call here, Ian.
Hey guys, Luke Irza calling, continuing my Secret Killer Eyeball movie review. So another observation I had. It appears like the police in the movie, they didn't appear to have much interest in solving the crime or crimes. Not quite comic relief necessarily by any means, but it's almost like they took the approach, if enough people get killed, it narrows the pool of suspects. Excuse me. Another observation, everyone in the tour group, they regularly state, knowing the group could be committing the murders, they just are really adamant that it couldn't be anybody, regardless of the fact that a similar murder, yet again, occurred in Vermont, very similar. So there had to be a connection to the U.S. Overall, an entertaining, rather amateur whodunit, in my opinion, but it was good. It was entertaining. Hope you guys have a good rest of your podcast.
Nice. So recognize that individual really well, Ian, as Luke's, which is Ian's father. That's so cool, Ian.
Yeah, and I enjoy the voicemails he sends every time. Yeah. And sometimes we'll watch, every once in a while, if he's over, we'll watch the movies together. We did that with Spasmo and Seven Bloodstained Orchids. Mm-hmm. So that was fun. I watched it. He had already actually watched it when I watched it on Sunday. He was just kind of roaming around, and he was like, yeah, the one part at one point he came in and he's like, yeah, I found it funny whenever they said, oh, none of us could be the killer, which I think he ties into the whole like American ethnocentrism of it all in a way. Yeah. Yeah, it might have been something that they were highlighting. Um, and yeah, the thing, what was, there was something else he said. I think it had something to do with just eliminating the suspects one
Right.
at a time compared to, um, you like, he did a good explanation of how a process of elimination on who would be the suspect, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. Well, good voicemail. Appreciate you calling in, Luke, for sure. And so, Ian, what is our next episode going to be of Black Glove Mysteries?
All right, so we're actually going to go to the Polizioteschi Eurocrime genre, and
Mhm.
we are going to start the Fernando De Leo Italian Collection Volume 1, and this is Caliber 9, also known as Milan Caliber 9. There you go. There's the whole collection right there. Mine, like, we have different ones because yours has
Yeah.
all the discs in it, whereas mine has like individual cases for each part of the collection. So there you go.
Yeah, and I got to give Ian, and there goes one. I got to give Ian a shout out because you gifted me this. I did not own this, so it's so cool that you gifted me this, and I can't wait to get into the set.
Yeah, there's no hyperbole when I say Milan Caliber 9 and the Italian Connection are two of the best crime films ever made, in my opinion. So whether it's Italian or not, it could be made by anybody.
Mhm.
And I will post a link from YouTube for the English dub for it. If you search for it on YouTube, you can probably find it as well. You can probably find an Italian dub of it real easy. The
Yeah.
one I'll post in the group is the English dub because that's usually my preference.
Nice. Well, once again, these you can get the Raro video, and I don't remember. I haven't looked to see how many features, if there's any. Um, but I do
I
like
think
Raro.
it's a little low on features. This one does have a documentary on it. Does have one on Fernando de Leo. Um, yeah, so there are a couple things there. There's no commentary, but there are a couple of things there.
So there you go. So that is going to be the next episode of Black Glove Mysteries, which you will hear and you will also see. So if you enjoyed this, this is our first one, and and it's been a blast, dude. I've enjoyed doing this. I hope you enjoy watching the video and give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that little bell that says notify, so every time the episode comes out, as well as I do all kinds of other stuff on that YouTube channel. So you'll get movies I bought, going to the cinema, new cinema. So there's all kinds of stuff I try to do. I'm trying to stay a little more active on there. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please click that thumbs up. If you head to landofthecreeps.blogspot.com, you can go down on the show note itself. So click on this episode and go down the show notes. You'll have all of Ian's information down there you can click on, as well as myself. And there's a store. You can get some Black Glove Mystery shirts. So check out our shirt. This is an older shirt. There's Ian's beautiful lug and myself on there without a beard, and some other cool stuff you can buy over at the store. So just click the store and go get you some swag. We would love that. So that said, Ian, what you got in closing for this episode?
Nothing much. I'm looking forward to getting into this DeLeo crime set for sure, and looking forward to having you watch them and maybe some
Yeah.
other people, hopefully. Um, and yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky at Urzanomics. You can add me on Facebook, and you can type in my name on Letterbox if you want to add me on there.
Nice. Well, this is not the end of this episode. This is the end if you're on YouTube, but if you're on podcast, this is not the end. We still got Mortis Vision with the Mortises coming up on audio form only. Pearl and I will be going into some really fun. We're going to look at 1990s television horror and television horror, and we're going to list off some lists of that. It's going to be really fun. So stay tuned if you're listening audio. If you're listening to video, this is the end of the show. So we're going to see you on the flip side. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time. Greg and Mortis and Ian Irza signing out. We always like to say, get your jolly on.